Negative thinking is a major problem because you've got to get control of this. You actually can control what this does. No one else is in charge. If the devil is in charge, it's because you gave him permission. You allowed him in. If God is operating up there, it's because you gave him permission. You allowed him in. It's a very, listen to me, it's not a magic trick, man. If you want to be successful, you have to get control of this. Like I was telling her earlier, look, you can eradicate negative thinking from your life. Now, it's not going to say you're not going to ever have a negative thought. That's not human. I have them, but I don't have them nowhere near as frequent as I used to because I learned what they are, how they work. I get rid of them. I don't have time for you. I'm on a positive track. I got things I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to be successful and I'm trying to be happy. If you're trying to be successful or happy, you have no room for negativity. The best way to mask yourself from negativity every morning is to start with gratitude. I'm telling you, man, it's a very simple process. Now, there are some books that you can buy. There's Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking. It's a very old book. It's only in paperback. It's called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. I read this book when I was 20. It started the process to change in my life. Then I read a book called The Magic of Thinking Big. It's by David Schultz. This just trains you how to think big. You know, it doesn't take any more brain power to think big than it does small. Big thinking gets rid of negativity. Dreams and visions gets rid of negativity. But you got to remember, man, that you operate. When you pray, God ain't the only one here to pray. The devil is listening to you. So his job is to dissuade you. His job is to keep you off track. Devil ain't got but one job. He don't want you to be successful. He don't want you to discover your dreams. He don't want you talking to God. So he get busy. He get busy. He busy, man. He send people your way all the time. He all over the internet. He all over social media. The devil got imps. He got people work for him all the time. All they do is just do what he say. Say something funky about her. Yeah. But you can control this part. Now, what you cannot do is bury yourself by using your success compared to other people. See, because here's the danger. Let me teach you this. Success is not how far you got. Because see, you're going to be disappointed all the time. Because somebody always further than you. So now you'll forever be disappointed. Success ain't how far you got. Success is how far you got from where you started. That's your success. That's yours. You can be successful, but if you constantly looking at somebody else, if I look at Oprah money, I start feeling bad about me. Because I ain't got Oprah money, man. Oprah got $1 billion. I don't have nowhere near no $1 billion. But you mean to tell me that I ain't smart enough to go?
That daily you have to prime yourself. You have to do something for 10 minutes minimum. If you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life. And
ooh, that's so good.
I mean, I just like, you gotta do it, right?
That's good. If you don't have 10 minutes,
you don't have a life
to give to priming yourself.
That's right.
You
And if you want a prime life, you want a beautiful life, a beautiful family.
Oh, I love that you
but
say
I do this first time I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
People always ask me, how are you so up all the time? But part of it is I attend all these seminars.
Yes.
I teach all this. But the real reason is
you prime yourself.
I prime myself. That's what I've done for years. It's like I changed my body, this radical breathing pattern or movement. There's many ways to do it. But then I do 10 minutes, and it usually goes more because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
But 10 minutes is how I get myself to do it. 3.5 minutes of pure gratitude about 3 things. And I pick one of those 3 to be simple, because I don't want to be the astronaut that, he went to the moon, that was his idea of adventure, and then they all come back and were depressed because what do I do for the rest of my life?
Yes.
So the wind in my face, my children's faces, anything. And the reason for gratitude is the 2 emotions that mess us up the most are fear and anger.
Yeah.
And you can't be grateful and fearful simultaneously. They don't go together. And you can't be angry and grateful simultaneously. So if you literally start your day cultivating that, this is the part I was talking about, creating a highway to happiness.
Yeah.
And then I do 3 minutes of my 3 to thrive. What are 3 outcomes or results I'm really committed to? And I see them as done and fulfilled. And in 10 minutes.
For that day?
I usually look at something at 6 months to 12 months out. Wow. Something that's a little bigger. And then what I feel is fulfilled and done, and I get thanks for it. And at the end of those 10 minutes, and usually it's 15 or 18 for me, I am so wired. Now, I've done that for years. It's been the basic. What's different with suffering is measuring it moment to moment over. And then the third one for me is okay, how do I love more? Love to me is an action. It's not a word, it's not an emotion. It's like, if you love, you act accordingly. So love, and what can I do in a loving way, and then what can I be grateful for? And that little 3-step process ends the suffering.
70% of the time, people live in stress, and living in stress is living in survival. Now, all organisms in nature can tolerate short-term stress. You know, a deer gets chased by a pack of coyotes. When it outruns the coyotes, it goes back to grazing and the event is over. And the definition of stress is when your brain and body are knocked out of balance, out of homeostasis. The stress response is what the body innately does to return itself back to order. So you're driving down the road, someone cuts you off, you jam on the brakes, you give them the finger, and then you settle back down and the event is over and boom, now everything's back to normal. But what if it's not a predator that's waiting for you outside the cave, but what if it's your coworker sitting right next to you? And all day long, you're turning on those chemicals because they're pushing all your emotional buttons. When you turn on a stress response and you can't turn it off, now you're headed for disease because no organism in nature can live in emergency mode for that extended period of time. It's a scientific fact that the hormones of stress downregulate genes and create disease, long-term effects. Human beings, because of the size of the neocortex, we can turn on the stress response just by thought alone. We can think about our problems and turn on those chemicals. That means then our thoughts could make us sick. So if it's possible that our thoughts could make us sick, is it possible then our thoughts could make us well? The answer is absolutely yes.
All of you have targets, things that you're after. If you're going to get a new result, if you're going to grow your business, if you're going to be able to support your mom, if you're going to get rid of the anxiety, if you're going to be able to overachieve and not have all that fear inside of you, you obviously need to get a new result. You're going to have to get new action. We all know that. You don't get new results with old action. What human beings can do is amazing. What they will do is usually disappointing. It's not because we're not capable of it. It's because we don't have new actions because we get in certain emotional states that dominate us, like anxiety, like fear of failure. So if you're in a state of fear, you're going to behave very differently and get very different results than if you were in a place of being courageous or bold or warm or connected or playful, any of those. So the most important key to changing your life in any situation is to change results, you got to change behavior. But to change behavior, you got to change the emotional state you're in.
The fact is this. You are playing the program 95% of the day, meaning your life is a printout of your program. Anything you're struggling to try to accomplish, whether it's health or love, relationships, whatever it is, if you're struggling, it represents a simple fact. Your subconscious programming doesn't support that conclusion. So the fact is, what are my programs? Look at your struggle. And wherever you're struggling, the struggle is not because the universe won't provide for you. The struggle is an internal job. The struggle is you're trying to overcome previous programming that prevents you to go to that destination. So the wonderful part about this understanding is you don't have to review your life. You can look right now. At this one moment, just look in your head and say, what are the things that I keep trying to get? And they seem to be elusive. I can't get them. They're always out of reach. I say, the universe is not holding back. It's your own invisible subconscious behavior. And once you understand where the issues are, and you start to really focus on the point that it's not the universe that's providing the trouble, it's myself, you have the first inclination, the first idea, the first understanding of how to change your life, because now you know exactly what issue is confronting you. You can change the programming. You can rewrite your subconscious programs. If you took the wishes and desires of the conscious mind and use that as a program to put the beliefs into the subconscious mind, it's the most exciting and liberating thing you can ever do in your life. You know why? Because once it's in the subconscious program, 95% of the day, without you even thinking about it, your mind will take you to that direction. And that is your freedom.
I define concentration as the ability to keep that awareness on one thing for a prolonged period of time. So if I can keep my awareness on Eric and not drift away and think about the wedding, or drift away and think about the vacation, or what I'm going to do later, then I'm concentrating on Eric. Every time it drifts away, I bring it back. And the more I practice this, the more I practice concentration. So concentration is the ability to keep your awareness on one thing for a prolonged period of time. And that's a very simple definition of concentration. How do you get better at concentration? You practice this. You practice this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's the only way to get good at it. And what's the best way to practice it? The best way to practice it is to integrate it into everything that you do in your life. Not to meditate 10 minutes in the morning. It doesn't work. You really need to look at your life the same way a sprinter in the Olympics looks at his life. We've all heard of Usain Bolt, the man that won the gold medal twice, 2 Olympics in a row, broke the world record. I don't know anything about him, to be honest. But if I was looked at him, I would assume he goes to the gym. Right? If you look at him, he's pretty ripped. He obviously sprints, he practices running, probably does a lot of long distance, he probably does a lot of stretching as well, I'm sure he gets massages. He looks like he eats the right kind of food. Drinks the right amount of water, takes vitamins. His whole day is so disciplined. For what? To prepare him for 9.57 seconds. I think that's what the world record is, right? 400 meters, 9.5 or 9.57 seconds. His whole day is preparing him for that short time, not the other way around. A lot of people say, you know what, I need to be more concentrated. So you know what, I'm going to meditate in the morning. I'll sit down for 2 minutes. Okay, now I'm Zen master. And the remaining 23 hours and 58 minutes, they just go about being ordinary and crazy. How does that work? How would you change? It's not balanced at all. So if for 23 hours and 58 minutes you are not being concentrated, you allowed your awareness to jump from one thing in your mind to another thing, to another thing, to another thing, to another thing, in an uncontrolled way, what would you be good at? The best way to do it is pick a few opportunities in your everyday life. For example, we all speak with people. When I speak with somebody, I give them my undivided attention. I keep my awareness on them, and the conversation is really brief. Why? Because we're concentrated. We're not being distracted. A 10-minute conversation normally just takes 3 minutes because you're just so focused. And out of a prolonged concentration comes the wonderful power of observation. You just become more observant, and when you become more observant, you see solutions quicker and you solve things quicker. And it's a wonderful, powerful feeling when somebody is concentrated on you and not being distracted.
The only way to break a habit, you guys, is not to deal with the triggers. You're never going to get rid of the stress in your life, but you can 100% change your pattern of avoiding work.
It's this fear of discomfort. People have this extreme feeling in their mind when it comes to their associations with exercise.
That's one of my first feeling, that I could hit the ball from any part of the court and feel like I could do it with closed eyes and make it and know exactly where it's going.
It made an impression on me. And since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today?
If you try and change yourself according to thinking that, oh, I'm going to a different country, or, you know, I need to please, or I need to not be alien enough, or you're overthinking it.
So that's that one voice. This other voice that we walk very far away from is the voice saying, hey man, you ain't doing shit. So what you have to do first is turn up this voice over here. The voice saying things to you that aren't nice.
Your body is like a race car that you can juice up yourself. Like, you can add the fat tires, you can add the improved suspension, you can beef up the horsepower in the engine. You can do all that yourself.
You have to be open to understand and accept the fact that you won't know everything.
Right.
And people won't know everything about you. So it's an education. I'm enjoying so much. You have to accept your uniqueness. Yeah, I want to do things that people are like, oh, she's doing that now. I look for things like that, whether it's acting, producing, I don't know what it'll be.
Sure.
I don't know.
If you want to be an anomaly, you have to act like one. Like, people want all these special things to happen, but then they're acting like everybody else.
Victory. I wanted to win. Not like beat somebody else. It wasn't about that. I just wanted to go the distance. Everything in my life, when something got hard, I quit.
It's this whole new perspective on it. And I think nature, the ease of suffering is always in presence. You know, when you're in presentness, truly locked in presentness, there is no suffering. There can be pain, but no suffering. Suffering is something created by our own mind.
We all think our stuff is the best, and like, I get that. But yeah, that would be my advice, only because that also is liberating. To me, everything's about breathing, right? Like, to me, everything is about, like, take full ownership for everything, and then everything gets easy, because then you're in control.
The more I did this, the more I gained confidence. And then the more I gained confidence, the more I realized I was just sacrificing. And then through that, all these different tools started coming up. But I would have never found these tools if I didn't put myself in a very uncomfortable place.
Is it real forgiveness if you refuse to forget the pain, the sadness, or the anger that the person made you feel? Is it real forgiveness if you won't let go of that?
You are who you've been looking for. So stop looking for more unless you're looking in a mirror, because it's about time for you to see clearly that you are who you've been looking for. And that empty feeling you got, that hole in your chest, you only got that feeling because you think you're not blessed with everything you need. You see, we live in a consumerist society, which means they need you to buy stuff. And the easiest way to sell it is to tell you you're not enough. Buy this car, you'll get girls. Buy this bra, you'll get guys. And we're seeing it so much that we start believing these lies, but the truth is, the makeup they're selling to make you feel prettier is the same makeup you buy to stop feeling shittier about this lie they keep telling you that you are not enough. And what about the movies we watch, all the shows on TV? The more I watch, the more I see I need you to complete me. And yes, love is the answer, love is the key, but if you can't love yourself, how could you ever love me? And loving yourself, what does that even mean? Like massages and selfies and that sort of thing? Because the more I think about it, the more it feels weird. I've always been taught that self-love was something to be feared. I've been taught that arrogance is bad and vanity, it's not good. And even my bracelets are telling me to act how Jesus would. So what should I do? How should I act? I'm supposed to love myself, but how do I even do that? Well, I got a trick that I picked up from a friend who noticed that I was quick to defend her when she would say something negative about herself. She would say, "I'm so dumb," and I'd say, "You're so brilliant." She'd say, "I'm so weak," and I'd say, "You're so resilient." And when she said, "I feel ugly," and I said, "You look beautiful," she asked me why I was so dutifully filling up her cup constantly and yet treating my own cup so irresponsibly. Because when I looked in the mirror, my voice was quite clear. You're ugly, you're too thin, your hairline's receding, you got a pimple on your chin. And that was when she gave me a piece of advice that changed my life. She gave me a hug, and she said, "Treat yourself like someone you loved." Treat yourself like someone you loved. Now, I had been standing, but I needed to be sitting because I couldn't believe that I had been letting myself keep forgetting that I was who I'd been looking for. And deep in my core, I knew it was time to stop looking for more until I could look through all my fear and look into a mirror and see clearly that the man looking back at me was the only one who can make me happy, and I am already enough. And I am not any more special or unique than you. That is why I'm here to speak to you. You are already enough. And when you start to see that, you will start to be that. Your world will get brighter, your load will get lighter, and you can see that with life, you can be a lover, not a fighter. And that life, you deserve it. Because you are worth it. And there is no point in letting yourself keep forgetting, because no matter what you say or do, you are perfect. And so today, I hope I leave you with a direction correction away from the flaws you see in your reflection. They aren't flaws to me, they are simply protection against all the doubts you have of your perfection. So start today. Take a good, long look in the mirror and say, I am who I've been looking for.
How much do you love yourself? Because if you understand the value of self-love, then you would never fuck with a girl like that. You would never fuck with a dude like that. You'll never be friends with those type of people or ever accept any invites that has to do with this or that. I already know how you're gonna make me feel because I've hung out with you before and you've already made me feel that way multiple times. So you continue to invite me and I continue to show up because I'm desperate to have friends. I'm desperate for the validation of all of these people being around me, feeding me, feeding me, feeding me. I ain't shit until you tell me that I'm the shit. I don't love me until you tell me that you love me. I don't like me until you tell me that you like me. Most of the people out here are running around empty. They have no sense of self, no sense of self-love. When I say self-love, it has nothing to do with celebrity, money, materialistic things, and all of the things that your negative mind could probably go to. Has nothing to do with self-love, has nothing to do with looks, nothing to do with cars and any of the superficial things that one would assume that could make you love yourself even more. It's a matter of knowing your value. It's a matter of you saying, I don't have to be around these people in these type of environments and situations in order for me to finally see the value in myself. I love me independent of you loving me. I believe in me. I know my self-worth. I know clearly that I'm a child of God, and God has a purpose over my life, and if he didn't, I wouldn't be here anymore. And I don't need you to tell me that. I don't need you to validate me. When you give me compliments, it inspires me to keep going. But you're not the reason I'm doing this. The comments, the feedback, the energy is not the reason I do what I do. I am here and I have a purpose. There is no value in having wisdom, knowledge, insight, spirituality, love, and having all of this stuff that I'm aware of. And I'm not perfect. I've had flaws. Every day, I am a work in progress.
Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be any different.
I think for myself, and I know many of you, you think forgiving means accepting what has happened to you. Well, it is accepting that it has happened to you. Not accepting that it was okay for it to happen. It is accepting that it has happened, and now what do I do about it? Forgiving is giving up the hope, not holding on, hoping, wishing that it could have been any other way than it actually was. Giving up the hope that the past could be any different. And when I got that, I think it took me to the next level of being a better person, because I don't hold grudges for anything or any situation, and neither should you. It's letting go so that the past does not hold you prisoner, does not hold you hostage.
Stop scaring yourself. And here we go into fear. How often do you terrorize yourself with your own thoughts? You get into absolute terror
And it's only coming from your thoughts. Nobody out there is doing a thing. Sometimes it's an old family pattern. Sometimes we get new things. How many people here are absolutely in terror of earthquakes? And how often do you do that to yourself? You know, we find so many ways to scare ourselves. I would like people, when you have time, to make a list of your fears. Make a list of your fears. And then give yourself the opportunity to turn each fear into a positive affirmation. Turn each one into something positive. And remember, always you are in charge. You are always in charge. See, one idle thought doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It's like but thoughts are like drops of water. You drop a drop of water on the table here, and it doesn't mean much. But if you keep dropping and keep dropping and keep dropping, you get, the table becomes a wash, and then you get a puddle on the floor, and then you can get a little pond and a lake, and finally you can create an ocean. And with our own thoughts, we can drown in a sea of negativity, or we can float on the ocean of life. And it's up to us. The thoughts we think accumulate. And what sort of puddles are you standing in? Or are you up to here? Or are you up to here and trying to paddle? You know, what are you doing to yourself? When we're willing to change our thinking, we can change our experiences. And it doesn't matter if you've got a big puddle of negative thoughts. You know, you can move over here and create a puddle of mindfulness, positive thoughts. You can make changes, always. So you want to turn those fear thoughts into positive affirmations. Let them work for you.
See, life is cyclic. You're not, whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Not to stay, just to pass. It's just going through. The biggest challenge is to know what's happening. This is a part of this thing we call life. This too shall pass. And maintaining perspective, putting it in perspective. I was doing a training at a college, and it was a 2-day training during orientation. And in the training that I provide, I'm a motivational speaker, but I conduct processes in personal dynamics, where people begin to go through changes that stimulate the right and left hemisphere of the brain, enable them to see themselves differently. I conducted this particular simulation with these young kids, 17 and 18 years of age, so that they would begin to see how they make decisions or how they would survive in this particular simulation process we gave them. We had them to do it individually and then collectively. Over 30% of them wrote down as their first option, in order to survive, they would commit suicide. First thing they wrote down. Suicide among young people has increased 300%. Over 5,000 will successfully take their lives this year. Why? Why did they do that? I said, I was so shocked. I said, what do you mean? Well, at least we would not suffer. And then they had the nerve to write down all of the other things they were going to do after they committed suicide. I said, listen, Kadumbo. No, when you come up with a permanent solution for a temporary problem, that's it. Game's over. That's it. You're not going to do anything. Anybody wrote suicide at the top, you can put your pencil down. See, a lot of us, because of our limited vision of ourselves, a lot of us who begin to focus on problems and enable them to overwhelm us, we begin to think that we have no options. We begin to believe that there's no way out. Repeat after me, there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, I'm unstoppable. You've got to make those kind of declarations to yourself. I'm unstoppable. This will not get me down. And if I get knocked down, I'm going to be like Leo Pascal. You said you're going to have some low moments in life, but when you do, you will have high lows. When you work on yourself. What are some of those things that you can do during this period of time? Go for walks. Do some things for you. Just go for a stroll so you can engage in some reflective thinking on life, on yourself, looking and enjoying the universe, smelling the roses along the way. Listen to upbeat music, music that inspires you. I have oldie but goodies. I have strategies that I engage in to recharge my batteries. I'm preparing for that because I know things are going to happen that I cannot anticipate. A very good friend of mine died the other day. I had a program for myself. I have books that I read that inspire me, tapes that I listen to that fire me up. Because you're going to have sometimes low moments when you won't want to get out of bed. You just want to stay there. At times you won't want to come out the house. At times you'll be feeling bad and don't know why. What's wrong? I don't know. Just leave me alone. Why did that happen? I don't know. It's called life. The other thing is take full responsibility for your life. Accept where you are and the responsibility that you're going to take yourself where you want to go. Someone said we have two primary choices in life. We can either accept conditions as they exist, or we can take the responsibility to change them. See, a lot of people want to exempt themselves from taking responsibility. All they want to do is talk about the problem. Every time you see them, they'll tell you their story over and over and over and over again. No. You want to take responsibility for your life. I got me here. I can get me out of this. And I'm getting out. I'm not going to be a volunteer victim. George Bernard Shaw said there are two kinds of people in life. You know, he said those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those that don't know what happened. And he said the people that get along in this life look around for the circumstances that they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. They create them. So part of beginning to get unstuck, you've got to decide that the behavior pattern that you have adopted doesn't work for you. You've got to change your strategies, and changing your strategy means reinventing your life. Recreating you, and you have the power to do that. You can decide that you're going to change, that you're not going to be a wimp. You can decide that you're going to stand up to life. You can decide that I'm going to live each day as if it were my last. You have the power to make that decision. You can decide I'm going to work on myself and develop myself. I'm going to empower me. And all of these things that are happening to me right now, they're just temporary inconveniences. They're not stronger than I am. I'm in charge here.
Life, there's three things. There's our ability to choose what we're focused on, or to commit, to get a result, to put all our intention and focus into something. There's our ability to do the right things, to have the right strategy to execute. And then there's some grace. There's what some people call luck, some people call grace. There's if you do the right things over and over again and with total focus, sometimes, you get good fortune that comes your way. And you tend to have more good fortune when you're totally focused and decisive and you take lots of action than if you kind of just sit around and accept things like you don't have a future. What do? Decades ago, half a century ago almost now, and someone says to you, go to the back of the bus, and you're African American. One woman just decided, you know what? You can't take my dignity from me. I can only give that up, and I don't choose to give it up. And I will not go back to the bus. The answer is no. Rosa Parks changed an entire society because that day she chose to focus on something else. She gave it a different meaning. This is not a command. You do not have control over me. And she decided to fight. And she changed the direction of a country and of many other countries. She started something. We forget that you don't have to be famous to have the ability to change at least your own personal history. change the direction we go in our life. We have the power to choose, even if you haven't before. You can finally say, no more, I won't put up with that. Within myself or from anybody else. And here's what I'm going to do differently. That's where the breakthroughs really start to happen. Now the question is, why do some people stand their ground and make something change versus other people just kind of accept things? Why do some people make bold decisions and other people make decisions that are based on trying to hang on to what they've got? Well, that's a more complex question to answer than we might have in a few minutes in this one session, but it is one that I've spent my life studying. Because when you can change your decisions, you can change your life. When you can change the force that controls your decisions, you can change anything in your life. At some level, we have certain beliefs and values. But if I was going to make it simple, I'd say there's two things that determine your choices. The first thing is the state of mind and emotion you're in at that moment. Think about it. Have you ever snapped at somebody and had nothing to do with them? It was just the state you're in, right? You're frustrated, you're pissed off about something, and in that state of mind, whatever they said got interpreted to that state, and you made it a meaning like they were irritant or they were interrupting you. They weren't. Probably felt bad afterwards. When we get in the wrong state, we make the wrong decisions. When you get in a strong, empowering state, you'll make a better decision. Learning how to direct your state is a big part of what my work is with people, and it's a big part of what I do in my seminars. But the other thing that affects your decisions would be what I would call your story or your blueprint. We all have kind of a story about how our life is supposed to be. It comes from a set of life experiences, interpretations. Some people think life is all about getting theirs. Some people think life is about growing and contributing. Some people think life is about making judgments. Some people think life is about saving other people's lives. Some people think life is about being successful. Some people think God is the basis of everything, and the way to know God is to go through life in a very specific way, with a set of rules, and they follow it. And that's what they believe. Whatever your story is, whatever your blueprint is just another way of saying whatever you believe is how your life is supposed to be, at some level, we either follow that blueprint or we fight it. If we follow it or we fight it, we're going to find that we're going to bump into things in life where life isn't always the same as we expect it to be or think it should be. And that's where we start to experience stress. When you make love, you breathe in unison while you're making love. And invariably the guy would go, huh? And I'd say, let me explain. You're here telling me about all these things you're upset with each other about. And you can talk about these things to your blue in the face, but the real problem is you don't feel connected, you don't feel loved. And I said, you don't have that feeling of total oneness with each other. And talking more about this is not going to change it. So if you really want to change this, I suggest you do this. And if you do what I'm telling you, you still need me, I'll give you one of my lunches. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go home and I want you to make love for an hour and a half minimum. And while you're doing it, I want you to breathe in unison the entire time with each other. Because what happens is you feel totally connected as one. Out of, who knows, 3 to 4 dozen people I asked to do that, only one person ever called us back and wanted to be able to do a session. Because the bond is there. So try it. Not now, later this evening. Plus, the great thing about mirroring somebody's breathing, it's very subtle. No one's going to jump on their chair and say, would you stop mirroring my breathing? And they're not going to notice. So you got breathing, you got posture, you got gestures, you got facial expressions, you got eye contact. What else could you mirror? Come on, use your brain. I know the answer. I want to see if you can come up with it. Come on. What else could you mirror? Proximity, good. What does proximity mean? Proximity means everybody has a certain amount of space that they need to be comfortable. And it's different for every single person you're going to meet in your life. One skill you want to master in this day and age that we live in, if you want to have an extraordinary life, it's the ability to learn rapidly. Because today, there is more opportunity to do more things, learn things, create things, experience things than any time in human history. But most people are way, way, way behind the times unless they grew up with technology and learning. So I would like to start this morning by showing you the strategy for learning. What is learning? So if we take a human being, and this will be a drawing of a human being so you can see that again I majored in art. magnificent, isn't it? So if we take a human being and we want to be able to have them learn something, what is learning? Well, learning is the creation
that does not represent the highest in me. You decided that even though I have 8 children that I'm not taking care of, I just see women as a receptacle for my orgasms, you decided that you're gonna throw your life away for crap. When you look in the mirror, you should have contempt for who's looking back at you. Because now you're no good to yourself or those 8 children that you have. Don't tell me about the man. Tell me about the man in the mirror. You look at your life. Here's what I know. You're stronger than anything that you're facing. Anything. And when you harness your will, when you retrain your thinking, when you jump out of line, when you decide to become an independent thinker, when you make decisions, see, if you just do 2 or 3 things well, listen to me. If you do 2 or 3 things well and just make the decisions not to do a variety of things wrong, like following the crowd, like doing drugs, like drinking and partying and wasting valuable time. If you decided not to do a lot of things wrong, you can make it in this thing called life.
What I've learned is that I can break it down into 4 pieces, right? There are four things, 4 characteristics. One is parenting, the other one is technology, the third is impatience, and the 4th is environment. The generation that we call the millennials, too many of them grew up subject to, not my words, failed parenting strategies, where, for example, they were told that they were special all the time. They were told that they could have anything they want in life, just because they want it. Right? They were told, some of them got into honors classes, not because they deserved it, but because their parents complained. And some of them got A's, not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents. Some kids got participation medals. You got a medal for coming in last, right? Which the science we know is pretty clear, which is it devalues the medal and the reward for those who actually work hard. And that actually makes the person who comes in last feel embarrassed because they know they didn't deserve it. So it actually makes them feel worse, right? So you take this group of people and they graduate school and they get a job and they're thrust into the real world, and in an instant they find out they're not special, their moms can't get them a promotion, that you get nothing for coming in last, and by the way, you can't just have it because you want it, right? And in an instant their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation that's growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations. The other problem, to compound it, is we're growing up in a Facebook, Instagram world. In other words, we're good at putting filters on things. We're good at showing people that life is amazing even though I'm depressed, right? And so everybody sounds tough, and everybody sounds like they got it all figured out. And the reality is there's very little toughness, and most people don't have it figured out. And so when the more senior people say, well, what should we do? They sound like, this is what you gotta do. And they have no clue. So you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations, right? Through no fault of their own. Through no fault of their own, right? They were dealt a bad hand.